Uh-huh.
Bob, the title of your book is Murder in Palm Beach, The Homicide That Never Died. What is it all about?
This book is a novel, and it's closely based on a hugely sensational murder that happened in January of 1976 in the posh town of Palm Beach, the oceanside town of Palm Beach. Um, this prominent citizen was shotgun through a window in his home. And you know, a couple of weeks later, he died of his wounds. And um, they couldn't figure out who did it. And the police gave up finally. They first charged this one uh, karate expert slash thug, and but shortly afterward they dropped the charges against him. However, there was a prosecutor who wanted to get this guy. He'd been a real pain in the neck for these for law enforcement for a long time. They wanted to get him, and he worked to get this guy prosecuted. He was prosecuted. He was sent to prison, and but many people, particularly in the media, did not thought that this guy was not the guy who the perpetrator. And so there are a number of scenarios that developed as to who it was. Uh, I was a journalist all my life, and I was a reporter for the Palm Beach Post. I found out some years ago that a former colleague of mine at the Post, who had come there from the Miami Herald, he had investigated this murder for many years. He finally discovered who the real murderer was. Much more important, he discovered who was behind it, and it was a very high-ranking politician out of Washington. He didn't give me the names. He'd done all this investigating. He wasn't about to give up all of his information. But several years later, after I talked to him, I inadvertently ran across his chief source. And that guy knew everything, and he gave me the principal names. But then there were some other names I needed. We were going to do a factual book. There were some other names I needed, and he was afraid to give them to me. So I had to abandon the project, and instead I wrote a novel about it, closely following the murder, but in a thin disguise of fiction.
How did you come to write it, Bob?
Uh, well, like I say, I was a reporter for the Palm Beach Post. Later, I was with this group of luxury lifestyle magazines. And while I was there, they needed stories about Palm Beach for their 50th anniversary edition. I told the editor I knew about this big murder that happened in 1976. I could find out where the principal players were now, what they felt about, how they felt about it, and so forth. So I conducted a number of interviews. I was about ready to write the story when the last person I saw was this guy with this radio station who had investigated the murder for like 8 years. He became obsessed with it. And he said, "Have you talking to so-and-so with the Palm Beach Post?" And I said, "No, but I can't spend much more time with this." He said, "Well, you need to talk to him." So I called him. I knew him, he knew me. asked him if I could talk to him about it. He invited me to his home, took a tape recorder. He turned on the tape recorder and he dropped a bombshell. He had discovered all this explosive information. And so I wrote a story, but based on that. Now, he did not tell me the names of these people, but it was enough that I wrote a story about, but the magazine was a luxury lifestyle magazine, and they decided, well, this is against our luxury lifestyle. We only write about positive, happy things. So they didn't carry the story. So some years later, after I left the magazine, I inadvertently ran into the reporter's chief source, and he gave me the principal names, the big names. But like I said, he couldn't give me the other names. He was afraid he might be killed, he said, if he did. So I instead embarked on that project and wrote a novel about it instead.
What does this subtitle mean, The Homicide That Never Died?
Well, what that has to do with is that while this guy was in prison, the guy who was convicted, several attorneys who believed that this guy was innocent took it upon themselves to work pro bono, in other words, without fees, to try to get a new trial for this guy. And they worked for years on it without pay. Well, they finally got his, the governor, a new governor, to communicate, not to pardon him, but to let him off. And so he was released from prison. But the murder still had not been solved. And but yes, the homicide that never died. That's why all of these appeals for a new trial, which never happened, and then they never did find out. The officials never found out who the real murderer was.
Do you expect the killer will ever be caught?
I am hoping that my novel, my book, will, if it gets enough attention, will apply enough pressure on law enforcement officials to reopen the case. And if they do, there shouldn't be any problem in finding who the real killer was and who is behind it.